I want to talk about the phrase forgiveness of sins. It is very typical in Western ways of reading Scripture to understand everything solely as an individual problem to solve. So sin is often talked about as something you on your own individually did, as opposed to a more Eastern or ancient mindset where things are much more communal or collective. And they go together, collective and individuals, but which one in your philosophy or way of thinking has priority? And the ways that we talk about sin today in Western modern Christianity is very individual, and the collective comes secondly, if at all. And this is true in the way that we talk about the forgiveness of sins. What was Jesus's work primarily? And if you grew up in, I wouldn't say just evangelical, but any sort of Protestant way of thinking or Western Roman Catholic way of thinking, Jesus' work was about forgiving your individual sins. Now, I want to contrast that with a Hebrew way of thinking. Today's lectionary text comes from Jeremiah 33. And when Paul talks about the forgiveness of sins, they aren't making up that phrase out of nowhere. They're pulling from their own Hebrew scriptures, the Tanakh, in order to have a definition of what that phrase might mean. So, for example, Jeremiah 33 talks about the restoration of Judah, who has been exiled to Babylon. And they are going to be restored, and this is the way that God, through the prophet Jeremiah, talks about it. I will bring back the captives. I will rebuild them as they were at first. I will cleanse them of all wrongdoing they committed against me. I will forgive them for all of their guilt and rebellion. Forgiveness of sins was a collective issue, deeply connected to the exile and coming back from exile on the restoration of the people of God. So, if we're going to talk about Jesus' work, if we're going to talk about forgiveness of sins, we have to first think about the community, the collective of the people of God, and what it means for them to be restored. Not just, hey, little Timmy, you said a bad word to your mom. Jesus died to forgive you from that. It's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the restoration of an entire community, the community of God. The forgiveness of sins is not just your individual mistakes, but rather resetting this entire community.